Hello, and welcome to Calming the Chaos, where we present tips, tools, and techniques to help you find peace in a chaotic world. I'm your host, Tracy Canella, licensed mental health counselor at Lokahi Counseling. This channel and the Calming the Chaos podcast is for those who want self-help and education. It's not a substitute for counseling or psychotherapy. So if you like the information, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for listening. And now, let the chaos begin. Thanks for joining me today. I'm actually doing a series with some therapists in our area, and today we have with us Julie McInnis, who is a licensed mental health counselor, and she has a business called the Chrysalis Counseling, and she works with people who struggle with trauma, some PTSD. She also works with therapists in training and is doing clinical supervision. We're really happy to have Julie on the show today to talk about how therapists are handling this coronavirus or this switch in practices that we have been experiencing. Welcome, Julie. Thank you so much for being a guest on Calming the Chaos.
Thank you, Tracy. It's so great to see another human. I wish, of course, I could be there in person, but this is as close as we can get right now. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, and it looks like you were telling me earlier that you're doing your sessions in your kitchen, which is right where you're at, and it looks amazing, actually, and the lighting is perfect, and you missed your office.
I do. I'm kind of in my kitchen dining room, and so this is the corner of the dining room that is most or least chaotic, I should say, and I wanted to have a backdrop that was just not very busy. Mm-hmm. And yes, I miss my office so much. I've worked so hard to finally be in full-time private practice and gathering therapists together to share a suite and collaborate. So we're just holding right now. The space is holding. I got my plants still there. I go water them and check the mail and, just try to look forward to being back in the office. But I'm also so grateful that I can still provide services and telehealth for clients, and also I'm doing supervision online. Same thing with the Zoom or the Doxy.me format. My new business will be the Chrysalis Collective, but it's definitely in formation, which is great because the whole way things emerged for me was the image of the chrysalis, which is of course, containing the caterpillar. It's actually the outside of the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. So I feel like it's really so much about what I've already done and then also what's coming that's new. So right now we are definitely in transition and holding because we can't expand right now with the current COVID-19 and the pandemic. So once again, it's just hold on and wait, and things are happening, right? It's like inside the chrysalis. So I love that I can tie it into what's going on with the world, natural images.
Yeah, I love that. And seriously, me being a butterfly person, I never knew what a chrysalis was. I thought it was just a fancy name for a butterfly, but you just explained it perfectly. And also what we're going through right now as a world, in the world, we are holding. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? We were both talking about the gifts of time, how like really in the chrysalis, time is a blessing and it is necessary. So we were going to talk about some things that possibly have been advantageous, or how you are thriving or surviving in these difficult times. Tell me what you've noticed and what you have found in these times.
Right. So a few things come to mind because I've been in home for 3 weeks from work, except like I mentioned to check the mail and water the plants. But I've gone out to get groceries and also the dreaded toilet paper, which I was not hoarding or worried about. initially. But of course, I headed out to go find some after my first week of work. And I was tired. I was exhausted, and it was after 6:30, so it was close to closing time. And I had my gloves on, and making sure I'm just going in and going out, keeping my social distance. I found it really awkward how people had to walk around, and I understand why they were doing that, but I also am a very cautious person. So I got the toilet paper. I'm checking out. The checker's so chatty, and normally I would be more engaging, but I'm like, dude, it's Friday. I'm tired. Have a good weekend, And I get out to my car, and I look to the side, and I see this gentleman. He's probably a late teenager, and he's sitting on the ground, and he has a blanket. It's cold. And I look in the trunk of my car, and my son's flannel jacket is there, and water, and a kind of emergency food, like a beef jerky. And so I walk over to him, and I said, would you like a flannel jacket? And he said, yes, that would be so great. And I brought it over to him, and he's like, oh, thank you. It's so soft. And I'm like, would you accept some money, some water? And I gave it to him, and my eyes just started watering. I just felt the compassion. And he's like, thank you. I so appreciate it. And I got back in my car, and I'm like, that was my moment of like, I'm a human this week. The rest of it felt like crisis, to be honest, just crisis management. But so taking action where you can is one of my coping skills that I've talked with everyone about the last week. I could do something in that moment. I wasn't worried about the 6 feet. I was still cautious. I'm not going to throw the jacket at the guy. I had gloves on. I just felt that compassion just pouring out of me. So that was one really exciting moment, and I just love to share it. I felt I really had an impact in that moment.
That is so great. I've been hearing some stories like that about how these times can bring compassion out and just that humanity. And it reminds me of back in 9/11 when we had the terrorist attacks, and everybody was so kind to each other. And it lasted for a couple of weeks. And this is different. This is something that our generation nor my parents' generation has experienced. So there's so many generations who have never experienced this sort of thing, and it brings out our humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is so great. So that's one of the things you've noticed, is that you can be very tired and really kind of wanting to get on with your own life, but then something will trigger some humanitarian response.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But you got toilet paper. I find that even more amazing, because we have not been able to find any. And I'm considering using the fallen oak leaves in my front yard to, if I get desperate. And
hey, I heard the dollar store had some, and let me tell you, I was like, freedom, I'm jumping in my car, I'm going over there. And so I had that kind of positive, I wanted to share that positive moment that just opened my heart. And so I drive down the road to Traders, and I want to go into Traders, but there's a line out front, and there's people standing 6-7 feet apart. And I was like, oh, ooh. And I had my bags in my hand that I always bring that are, recyclable, and I get in there, and I'm trying to step slowly, right? Because everyone goes in, and only so many people can go in at a time. And it reminded me of being a kid when we had to wait in line for gasoline and food sometimes. And I remembered, so I was like, oh, I'm remembering like feeling like a child instantly. And then they're like, do you want a cart? Do you want a cart? I'm like, no, thank you. And they're like, do you want wipes? Do you want gloves? And I already had gloves on. And the woman's like, you need to step back, ma'am. And I was just like, whoa, because I'm such a person, like I even want to get closer to you, right? So I get in there, and I'm wandering through the store, but you have to wait for everyone. And I'm trying to make a decision, like buy the lettuce. And this woman like reaches in front of me, and she says, you're taking too long. And I was like, I was like, I want to get out of here now, right? Because I was like, excuse me? I can't make a decision that quick, but okay. So I made my way through. It was like not good. It felt like a labyrinth, kind of like one of the science fiction movies or something. So I get to the front and they tell me I can't use my bags,
Mhm.
but all my groceries are in the bags. So I'm doing, motions I normally wouldn't do, and I'm putting stuff on the platform. And then I was prepared to be contactless. So I have my iPhone, so you can pay without touching. So I thought, oh, good, I'm not going to have to put in my PIN. And he's like, it needs your PIN. And I was just like, okay. And I'm just really like, ooh, I'm rigid. And then he said, you can put your bag on the counter though, and you can bag your own groceries. And so I went to huck it on the counter and I pulled a muscle. And then I spent 2 days in excruciating pain on my weekend.
Mm.
So that's how COVID-19 has impacted my physical being. Is I'm used to being open and light and giving, and then here I was like a child and trying to follow the rules, and I definitely cried for pain, and spent the weekend doing that last weekend. So I don't know, lots of self-care, lots of what we tell clients to do, what I tell clients to do. I couldn't do yoga. I could barely meditate. I could sit up, but I couldn't lay down. And of course, I reached out to my providers, who most of them are not, they're considered non-essential, but I consider them essential. So I reached out to a good friend and we meditated, and I just really was humbled, so humbled by that acute pain. And I realized I didn't have to put my bag up there. I could have just said no, but I wasn't feeling like empowered and in a strong place. I was doing what I was told, right? So I learned a great lesson, and it was definitely painful, but I also took that as part of that gift of time. I ate all leftovers, and I have a 17-year-old, so he kind of, attended a little bit more. He's pretty self-sufficient. And then I did get to see my daughter, who came by and was telling me her strife and her grief. And actually that relieved me to hear about what was going on with her. And it helped ground me in a way. And I felt like, oh, I'm coming back to my body. It's not as painful. And then I realized what I miss most, Tracy, is being fully embodied in the room with my clients and my therapists. I totally had grief. I had a grief reaction. And like I said to you, I mean, I'm familiar with grief. I'm familiar with sadness. I actually do a lot of that work, but it didn't hit me until I had that kind of painful reaction. So I really had to sit with that. And guess what? I woke up Monday morning and I was feeling pretty good and jumped into my work week. And I was just so humbled. And I felt that it was opportunity for me to really embrace what's happening right now for a lot of people, and that I'm healthy, even though I had that little momentary injury. I just felt really blessed.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are being a lot more careful about where they walk. I know I have cats, so there's cat toys usually littered around the house, and they can litter, but then after the cats sleep, I'll put them away because I don't want anybody tripping, falling down the stairs, having to go to the hospital in times like these. And so you actually had an injury and you got it at Trader Joe's.
We have an opportunity right now to shift. And some of what I've noticed is it's almost like, I wanted to say contraindicated, but I mean, it's kind of like counterintuitive, because things that were like, the coffee cups, not using your reusable coffee cups. Obviously, I'm pretty much drinking all my coffee from home doing that. But I know others that were saying that first week they were still going to get coffee and they weren't able to use their mugs. And so it's impacting the environment. But, now look at how not going anywhere is impacting the environment. There's all the positives. So I remind folks of that too. Yeah. And I did want to also mention that someone had, people are having some challenges with their negative thought patterns, and clients and family and friends. And I noticed that I don't try to be positive and like cheerleader anyway. I'm pretty grounded in meeting people where they're at. But when someone says, is this the end of the world? It's tough to not be like, it's hard, it's hard. So I didn't miss a beat. And I said, no, it's a new world. It's a new world, and let's just go day by day. And at best, one of my coping strategies has been that looking 3 days out at the most. So, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, because we don't know what we're being told what to do. But what can we do, right? Instead of saying, oh, I'm stuck at home, I'm safe at home. So, we're great reframers. And I loved Laura Valancourt's starting us off with that in the previous podcast. And I totally find myself reframing almost with every client right now.
Reframing is so important because you can look at either the glass half empty or the espresso cup half empty or half full, right? We're fortunate to have coffee. Yes, we're not able to use our reusable mugs, but we can have coffee.
I definitely say I feel my privilege right now.
Yeah. Have you noticed any other sorts of, you said something about you've noticed some negative thinking, and is that been from the people who are directly surrounding you in your personal life or just clients? I know you've mentioned it, that you'd had it in clients.
I think it's everyone. I think just part of what's going on right now, the collective angst and the uncertainty is really high, and we can't pretend, we just can't. I'm reality, want to be in reality. I like to vision the future also, but yeah, I noticed the negativity is higher. And I do some of the psychoeducation with my family too, probably. They're probably like, oh, here she goes. But so the negativity bias, where our brains are primed, for the worst thing to happen. We are definitely in survival mode. And so I recognize that with each client, and I just let them be where they're at. Some of them are resistant to the reframing, and that's all right. No rush, we're going to have a telehealth appointment next week. Let's just see where you're at. But definitely, and I just let them be there, because right now it is a lot of reality attacks are happening, I think, for folks. And I'm not going to be, like cheering people on with like an abundance of hope. I of course don't want to be hopeless about things, but I say things like, have faith, and let's focus on what can you do today. I'm also very strength-based. And so of course it's the list. A lot of people know, the walk in nature, walking their dog. And then of course they're like, you're going to tell me to do yoga or meditate. And I'm like, actually, no, what's your list? I give people a lot more homework now. Homework. So I say, what's your list of coping skills? And then they're reminded, pause for a minute, take a few breaths, that kind of thing. And then they're like, can I bake more cookies than normal? I said, absolutely. You break the rules. I mean, we are really in survival mode right now. And I've had a lot of reports of people sleeping a lot, and especially kids and teenagers that have very little to do. So I say, try to keep a routine. So if you got up at 6 a.m. but now you're getting up at 7, still do those 3 things in the morning that get you going. And I'm very transparent. I share with them, I get my coffee started, I still take a shower, and then I make my breakfast, and then I start my day. So I think people are finding their way, and they're having a few down days. And including, my clients all have, it's very themed. A lot of people are teleworking, or they're home with their families. And so they're finding privacy with me, and it's in their car, or it's in their garage, or they're outside where nature is and there's not people listening. So I found those themes to be like adapting. And I said, yes, we are adapting right now, and we are evolving, and, hang on, and there's no rush. And that's when I do tie in the gift of time, because people are always saying, I don't have enough time, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wow, look at this opportunity. And what are you going to do with this time? So people are like, yeah, I guess I'm going to write in that journal that you gave me or you recommended, and, gratitude. And they're like, I don't want to have gratitude right now. Okay. So just meeting them where they're at, for sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're just meeting any emotion that comes, which is what we have to do with as therapists anyway. If we just say,
Mhm.
oh, buck up, little camper, it's going to be fine, it's almost invalidating to people. We need to let them fear. We need to let them express their fear and their panic and their overwhelm. It's what this podcast was built on. Was I've got a lot of anxiety. I've got a lot of struggled with a lot of panic and overwhelm.
Mhm.
So we need to let that in so we can meet it and not stuff it down. And then
Mhm.
what you were talking about is, what's your list? What's your list of coping? And you challenge your clients to create their own lists,
Mhm.
lists that work for them. And you apparently have, as a therapist, you probably have your own list of coping as well. And
Yes.
I was wondering if you might be able to share some of those coping skills that you as
Sure.
a therapist have, that you do to
Right.
calm your own chaos.
A couple of the things I do typically take me out of the home.
Mm.
So I've had to adapt at home, and I've been kind of grouchy about it. I have to be honest. I like going to yoga. I like someone else telling me what to do when I go to yoga, so I don't have to think about it. I also like going to the gym, and my trainer, Sam, who's amazing, she tells me what to do, and I just do it. So I've really missed having other people, even though I didn't like the Trader Joe's guy telling me what to do. I really like the yogis and the personal trainers telling me what to do. So because I haven't had them, I have still taken a walk every day, sometimes twice a day. If it rains, if it's hailing, several times it's hailed. It, you know, I haven't gotten out too much when it's been sunny because it's not been that sunny. But I have spent more time walking my property, doing mindfulness outside instead of inside because I'm so tired of my kitchen. So going outside, looking at the birds. I don't know the names of all the birds, but I've identified about 12 different birds. So I'm interested, and it's like a new hobby. But mindfulness really in the colors and all the things we know to do with our clients, but I'm actually demonstrating them. And of course I feel more grounded when I come back in.
Mhm.
Um, I do I do think meditation continues to be in my daily practice. I've not taken that out. I've probably added another meditation with a friend that has really been helpful to do the video with the friend.
Great.
And even though I'm kind of tired of the screen, so to speak, it still helps me connect into that friend and that connection we have and that relationship. So still staying connected, and also other therapists, connecting to other therapists that are on the front lines.
Mhm.
Oh, eating. Eating is my coping skill. I will just have to admit that I've made more chocolate chip cookies and more banana bread, but my 17-year-old is so happy. And I just acknowledge that we're in kind of hibernation mode and that we're eating a little bit more, and I don't pathologize it because I don't find that to be helpful. So that's pretty good, right?
That's a good, healthy list, Julie.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. And
I'm really doing it too. I'm not just telling people to do it. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So you have the list, and yeah, that's a great point. You could have a list, but then not do anything on the list and
Mhm.
sleep in until noon and just watch YouTube all
Mhm.
day. So what you are doing with this gift of time, it sounds like there's part therapy, because you are doing therapy and you are doing counseling, but you're doing a lot of self-care. You're doing some self-care in ways that are right for you. This is your list,
Correct.
and it's working for you. So during this time, has it prompted you to think or reconsider your practices once we get back into our quote unquote normal or
Yeah.
former routines?
Yeah. I have been reflecting, could I maybe be home one day a week, and do the telehealth from home? Absolutely. Um, I've thought about, I'm working 4 days right now, and I really would rather work 3, but I have this goal with the collective to gather and, uh, you know, economic and all my resources to kind of move forward. So I know it's temporary, but I'm definitely going to go back down to 3 days a week. And definitely I want to also spend less time on the road when I can actually help several folks from the telehealth from home.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, and I guess I've experienced the same thing. While I don't like being not in the room with my clients, I've noticed that their energy isn't affecting me as much as it did when we were in the same room. I'll still do, like, I have a window over there. I'll open up the window, I'll
Mhm.
spray my little magic sprays
Mhm.
around and sort of try to clear the energy out of the room.
Mhm.
But I've noticed that there's a lot of decrease in anxiety, and I think I've attributed it to not being on the road as much too.
My goal is self-care, support myself, my family of choice, and then my clients. I would not want to do this full time from home. That would not be my preference, but obviously, if I needed to, now I know that I can. I'm going into week 4. And I feel like I'll evolve in this practice also, but I certainly would prefer to go back to my office with the humans and sitting with the humans.
Yeah, are you wanting to advertise your website or your services or your collective or anything like that? Do you want me to put that in the notes?
So and I actually want to say, how abundant my practice is, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to give. And giving actually helps us get those good feeling endorphins, the serotonin and dopamine. So I'm so grateful to be able to give and help people. And I would say yes, advertise. Chrysalis Counseling is still open for. I did advertise telehealth on Psychology Today. I don't currently have a website. I've been kind of waiting to do the collective, Chrysalis Collective business and everything, and it's probably not going to roll out till the summer at best. So I'll let you know about that. I would just say that we're forming. We have the business sign is up on our door, and we've got several amazing therapists that are gathering there, um, and more to come, I believe. And I'll have more training. My goal is to do continuing education and bring other folks from the community together, pacing and being calm, just like, I don't want to get a bunch of upheaval. I had plenty of chaos growing up in my life, and in and out of chaos, right, to order,
Yeah.
chaos to order. And I feel like that's why your podcast definitely drew me in, because I am, wanting to be feeling peaceful and calm. And I still have my moments. I still have plenty of moments.
Yeah.
And I just come back to what I value, which is connection and being able to help others and be of service.
Thank you so much. You're just such a wonderful, warm person, and
Oh,
you
thank
just
you.
tell it like it is. And
I do.
yeah, and I appreciate you being on here and letting us know some of your secrets. And I know we could all use a little help from everybody, and without being overwhelmed. You don't have to do any of these things, but if something resonates, something that Julie or I said, then I just encourage you to try it. What have you got to lose, right? You got the time.
Exactly.
Got the gift
Exactly.
of time.
The gift of time.
All right. Well, you take it easy, and we will, I'm sure, be seeing you in person sometime in the future, okay? Wow, what a great interview with Julie McInnis. This episode was packed with ways that you can use your time wisely during the COVID-19 quarantine. One of the tips Julie mentioned to calm the chaos is to practice daily mindfulness. And if you'd like an easy way to practice daily mindfulness, then check out my CD called On This Day. It's available on Amazon and Spotify in digital form. If you like the information offered on this podcast, please consider subscribing and share it with your friends. In the meantime, take care.